And the dust is beginning to settle on the events, post the Dubois-Usyk fights. But we're now beginning to see various outcomes and opportunities that might present themselves to various fighters. What do you think is next, or what have you heard is next for Oleksandr Usyk?
Well, the WBO have ordered that he boxes against Joseph Parker next.
Yeah.
They've got 30 days to decide whether he's going to go through with that. I'm not sure that Turkey Sheikh, Riyadh Season are interested in that fight. If they're not interested in the fight, then he has to vacate the title and we get Joseph Parker versus the number one, which is Moses Asoma, which could be an interesting fight. So there's lots of moving parts going on at the moment with this whole situation and whether we keep the titles together, whether they become fragmented. But the WBO, fair play, have ordered it, and Joseph Parker will get his shot.
I mean, most people think that there's a distinct possibility that he may well vacate, but in the event that he doesn't, let's have a listen to Joseph Parker talking on this show last week about the potential of that fight. Now, given that you are such an admirer of his and you appreciate his skill because you're an appreciator of skill, what makes you think that you've got the toolkit to dethrone him?
I believe wholeheartedly in my ability and what I can do in the ring. I have full confidence that give me a good camp or give me some time to put in the work with Andy Lee and George Lockhart. Want to come up with a good game plan, probably different to everyone else's one, and just work hard.
But given you have had one round since March 24, is it the right move for you to take this opportunity rather than having a fight in between it to get yourself into a situation where you're really in the zone?
That is a good question, because I've had one fight in 2024, one this year, and activity is key, and he's been very busy, Usyk.
What is the reason behind you only having one round, Joe? Like, politics of the sport?
I have no idea.
You've been knocking on the door,
I've been knocking on the door, I've been asking for any fight and every fight. Who knows, right?
Two questions for you. Firstly, do you think that fight materialises? And if it does, where do you put Parker's chance in that fight?
I don't think the fight materialises, Simon, because I can't really see Usyk fighting Joseph. Well, I mean, listen, he could fight Joseph Parker, but I just don't see it happening because, I don't think it's enough time. I think, is it 30 days the WBO have given them to negotiate?
Yeah, or it goes to purse bids,
And it goes to purse bids. I don't know if that's enough time. And secondly...
Do you think the principles... I mean, I'll ask a loaded question about Oleksandr Usyk and where he goes next.
OK.
Because he made a big deal a while ago about the opportunity that AJ gave him. And he did a brilliant article in the Mail where he talks about everything I've got has come as a result of the association with Anthony Joshua and winning those fights. So that makes him understand the principles of the opportunity that he was given. Isn't it incumbent upon him to have the same sort of attitude that Joe Parker is entitled to have the same opportunity that was afforded him when Anthony Joshua was the kingmaker?
Yeah, it doesn't really work like that, though, does it? You know, I don't think Usyk is at that place now where he looks at himself and thinks to himself, you know what, I'll give him a shot because he deserves it.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think he does.
Even with the character of the man?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think I'm not questioning his character or his motives. I just think to myself, Oleksandr Usyk's already stated he wants one more fight, and hopefully that will be in the Ukraine for him. Don't know if Joseph Parker's going to get that fight in the Ukraine. Might fight Joseph Parker somewhere else, but I don't think it's going to be in Ukraine. So Usyk might just retire.
But do you think Parker has a chance? The second part of the question was, do you think Parker has a chance in that fight?
Slim and none.
Right.
Slim and none. I don't see, as I said before, I don't see who beats Usyk. He's a brilliant all-rounder.
Do you think that this fight happens, Addy? And if you do think it happens, do you think Joe Parker is in a position to go into that fight and be successful, not only given the fact that Usyk reigns supreme, but Joe Parker's fought one round in, 18 months now?
Yeah, no.
He has to have a better preparation than just going against Martin Bakole, doesn't he?
100%. I don't think it happens, but let's play devil's advocate and say it does happen. If it does happen, it will happen in a minimum of 7 months. Usyk's not fighting again until December, the start of next year.
Right.
So that would mean Joseph Parker's not fought for a year. And as you said, that would be one round of boxing
in nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years. Yeah. The best Joseph Parker we saw was a Joseph Parker that was busy, that was fighting every 4 or 5 months. The same with Daniel Dubois. The best Daniel Dubois we saw was a Dubois that had those back-to-back fights with Miller, Hrgovic, AJ. Yep. And then he had a long time out, and then we saw his performance Saturday just gone. So if I'm Joseph Parker, I just accept that Usyk's going to vacate and I fight the next man up.
Right.
Or have a stay busy fight. These fighters, and I saw Caballero ringside as well, these fighters all can't be waiting for Usyk. Like, stay busy and fight. You all can't be waiting for the biggest paycheck and Oleksandr Usyk. You've got to stay busy. And there's too many heavyweights. And again, it's not just Caballero and Parker, just ringside all waiting for outcomes. I'm like, fight each other. Like, why are you all not? Like, why is Parker not fought Caballero? It blows my mind as to why the second and the third best heavyweights are not fighting each other.
Because they're interim champions. They're waiting for that world title opportunity. Like, they're waiting for the big one, and they do know that after the undisputed,
you wait. You get dry. You get out of shape. Fight it. Just fight.
Understood.
And then the winner, and then the argument for the winner then fighting Usyk's massive. Caballero fights Parker, the winner, okay. And we, the crowd, would ask and dictate for it. I don't think the crowd, aside from boxing aficionados, I don't think the crowd, the public, are screaming for Parker Usyk.
No, I that's because we've had an embarrassment of riches recently, haven't we? And so, with due respect to Joe Parker, whilst we all admire the re-emergence and the resurgence of his career, when you've had Oleksandr in fighting for undisputeds, left, right and centre against Tyson Fury, originally fighting against Anthony Joshua and then fighting against Daniel Dubois, and all the intrigue that Daniel Dubois was supposed to bring in this fight, then we've got this embarrassment of riches. I mean, logic says that potentially that the WBO belt gets stripped away, drops into a space where Joe Parker fights the number one, which is Moses Atuma. And we'll talk about Moses Atuma later on in the show, but I wanted to ask you, Duke, where does Usyk go? Is it all roads lead back to Tyson Fury? Tyson Fury telling us he's watched the fights 250 times. I mean, maybe get over it, Tyson. You lost. And rewriting history. But are you in favour of that fight as a third opportunity?
No, it's a money fight, certainly. Of course it is. But I think Usyk will want to stay active, stay busy. If he can get one more fight this year, Usyk, I'm not so sure it's against Tyson Fury, because Fury's doing his documentary. He's not interested in fighting right now. He's doing his Netflix.
But he did turn around and say, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He did turn around and say, if I come back, it's for a third fight to right the wrongs of the two fights. Yeah, but he doesn't get to dictate when he does that.
Yeah, but he won't. He's not going to break away from his Netflix series that he's got going on, is he? And go back.
So where does Usyk go?
So let's rephrase it. So who do you think should be next in line for Oleksandr Usyk?
Should be who he does fight.
Yeah, who do you think commercially? What do you think is the biggest fight out there for him then?
Well, commercially, it has to be Joseph Parker, doesn't it? Because he's earned the right. I just don't think that Usyk's going to play ball and go, you know what, I'll fight him just because.
You know, I spoke to Andy Lee. I spoke to Andy Lee the other day, and this was on camera, so I'm not saying anything that Andy Lee wouldn't let me say. But he said that there's been a lot of talk about Usyk having a crossover fight, and he said it's now filtered to him. And he's hearing it, and the noise is getting bigger and bigger and bigger around Oleksandr Usyk vacating and having a crossover fight, which, look, I don't think will happen, but we saw who got in the ring with him on Saturday night, and that was Jake Paul. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Mm. Who knows? I mean, Usyk's now become such a powerful name in terms of the numbers he does, the tickets and bums on seats. Who knows if he's a viable opponent in terms of commercially for Jake Paul?
Just out of curiosity, is he? Because the bums on the seats and the dance partner are an important part of it, aren't they? Because Usyk, whilst we all marvel at his excellence and his brilliance and the statesman-like way he conducts himself, the dance partners have come to bear. Daniel Dubois, was contributing factor to filling Wembley Stadium.
Clearly, the bigger reception, do you think, when they came out? I thought it was maybe.
I think it was a mixed bag. Because the Ukrainians were noisier.
I could have been wrong.
No, I think it was a 50-50 split, to be fair. I think that there was as many Usyk fans in there as there were Dubois. But Simon's right in what he says.
It's the dance partners that help.
Yeah, it's the dance partners. With Oleksandr Usyk, you do need that dance partner, I think, like globally, anyway, for sure, with the bigger names.
Can I ask you, Duke, we were having a discussion last week, and as is always the producers want, they want to compare eras and do that bit of about who was best and who wasn't. I made the case that I thought, having spent a lot of time running around the world watching Lennox Lewis, that I think that Usyk, whilst one of the all-time greats, would struggle to have lived with Lennox Lewis. Where are you on the argument as to where Usyk sits in the pantheon of great heavyweights?
Yeah, he deserves to be in the all-time top 20. We don't know where he fits in that top 20. Because, like you say, I think
heavyweights or
heavyweights, not
20.
20.
Top 20.
There's 19 heavyweights better than Usyk,
in my opinion. Wow. If we're looking back into the 70s and the 80s, the 90s, you look back at those kind of fighters, your Frasers, your Formers, your Alis. Then you got your Lennox Lewis, your Tysons, your Riddick Bowes, your Evander Holyfields. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys that were given, I think, Usyk a lot of trouble that aren't the real big names, like a Ray Mercer. I think Ray Mercer would give would give Usyk a lot of problems.
David Tua.
David Tua would give him.
But
probably nightmares.
Usyk equally would give them fits. His southpaw stance and movement, and those heavyweights back in the day, as much as we like to look at them, they weren't big, you know.
Yeah, but
they weren't big. They weren't big as we
Some
think
of
they
them
were.
were. Colotta was huge.
Yeah, they were
Witherspoon was
combination
huge.
punches, AD. They were combination punches. They were
Riddick Bowe was
athletes.
huge.
They were proper athletes.
Yeah, but someone
And
like
they could-
someone like Joe Frazier who was relentless,
Yeah.
but was a little bit predictable. And you know, he'll come forward doing this. Like someone like Usyk who had that skill set and
Piss him off.
you know, you're talking about size and all that. You go, you got to put Usyk a massive favourite over
but
Frazier.
the power that Fraser could
Yeah, but could he
generate.
land it?
Well, listen, he decked Muhammad Ali, right? The greatest of them all.
Yeah, I
the
know.
greatest mover and shaker of them all. And then look what George Foreman did to Joe
Don't you
Fraser.
think that Usyk puts his name in that argument when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
talking about even with the Muhammad Ali's because of what he's done?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's in the top 20. You got 20. You got at least 20. At least.
And that's
20.
before you even started getting into people like Kenny Norton and people like that.
Yeah,
So was my argument for my own validation
Well, what did
about
Simon
Lennox
say?
Lewis?
No,
a good
no,
argument.
Lennox Lewis, in my opinion, just in my opinion, would beat Usyk. He's too big and
heard that.
he's just
You heard
as
that.
skillful.
You heard that, right?
He's
I
got
heard
as
it, mate,
much.
yeah.
He's got a just as good a skill set as Oleksandr Usyk.
I heard it.
Yeah,
And
but
he hits-
for
he hits
all those
right
people out there that were calling
He
me a
hits
tit
hard-
last
he
week,
hits
I think
harder.
McKenzie said I'm right.
Yeah, he hits harder pound for pound than Usyk because Usyk is a cruiserweight. I guarantee you that. I bet that guy, if the chips were down, he could make cruiserweight tomorrow.
But saying that, so was Evander Holyfield, and I went to both those fights, one at Madison Square Garden where he lost, and the one that he where they drew in terms of they stole the verdict from Lennox Lewis, and the one that he won the undisputed belts from, which I didn't think he won. I thought Evander Holyfield won. And let's move on to the other side of the conversations following the Usyk Dubois fight, which is Daniel Dubois and the narrative, the running narrative that's been created around how he performed in that fight and certain aspects of what he did and didn't do. We've had a lot of people speak about it, so let's listen to those before we ask you guys what you think of it.
Yeah, could he have gotten up? Probably, but he showed that's not the person he is, you know?
When he gets into these really hard moments in fights, that's when the real Daniel comes out. And the real Daniel doesn't want to fight.
Daniel, there are some ways that he needs to have a bit more resilience, but he didn't swallow. Tony Bellew got knocked out. I mean, why didn't he get up and fight on?
When Daniel, first two shots in the fight, hit Daniel on the chin. And then that's when Daniel just quit.
When you say the first two shots in the fight, they went to the chin, then he quit, what do you mean by that?
I mean, like, he just folded, he just quit. I mean, like, in a way, not quit like walking out the ring. Quit off like, you know what? I'm just going to try and survive.
He got put down twice. What do you want him to do? Die in the ring? There's no first place for getting battered to The lad did his best. He wasn't going to win the fight. He's better off getting out of there.
You know, even though he got knocked down with a heavy punch, he was still able to get up.
Yeah. So does that mean you think he swallowed it?
I think so.
Yeah. Lawrence?
It's hard to say. But if we're going to be, I don't know what he's actually experienced on the ground, but he did seem cool by the count of 10. He was able to walk to his corner and so on. But so I don't want to say he swallowed it, but it was tough.
It so happens those two fighters who were in the studio yesterday are still currently, they're active, they're current heavyweights.
Yeah.
Yeah? God willing, he's going to meet those two characters, yeah? And let's see who swallows it. Let's see who's quitting, yeah? Let's see who's going to swallow and who's going to quit.
I mean, we spoke about it, Duke, last week, and you said you were going to go away and have a look at it. I don't think I'm in a position to talk about fighters quitting, and I know that Spencer doesn't like it, and we'll ask him about some of the things he said in the weekend. Where are you, having watched the fight again and seen Daniel get up off the canvas, look across at his father and seem to amble across the ring? Where are you on this rather unpalatable observation that he perhaps quit?
Well, watched it again, Simon, and when he got knocked down the first time, he looked to the corner because he was looking for instruction. The first shot, the right hook. When he went down the second time, which was the second knockdown was worse than the first one, he did exactly the same thing. He was looking for instruction. But believe you me, he was gone. He didn't know where he was because he looks round to 2 or 3 different corners before he gets to makes eye contact with Don Charles. Once he makes eye contact...
Because we think he was looking for his dad, don't we? More than Don.
Well,
I think Don
I think
accepts that implicitly.
Yeah, well, I thought he was actually looking back to the corner, waiting for instruction. I could be wrong because then he showed.
No, his father was in the corner.
His dad was in the corner.
Yeah.
All right, so he's looking for the old man. Okay, so but once he's made eye contact with the old man, then by that time, the 10th count had already gone. So then he got up. I mean, he didn't. He did seem to be more.
I thought he got up on 9, didn't he?
He got up on 9.
He got up on 9,
then it went to 10.
But
right?
the towels come in as well. So I wonder if he's made eye contact with the towel being thrown in.
No, but we discussed that, and you made a very salient point about it, Spencer. And you believe that apparently, because of the challenges this boy's had about observations that have been made about him in the Joe Joyce first fight, or the fight that we lost to Joe Joyce, and the first Usyk fight, that people have now allowed their mentality to suggest that he will quit.
It's
and
too
so,
easy,
Don Charles
Don
took that away from him by throwing the towel in.
Yeah.
It's too easy.
I think Don Charles recognised that he wasn't going to get up at this stage. He's looking at him, the count's going 7, 8, 9. So Don's thinking, right, look, this kid's going to get some flack for this because they always get that, the controversy surrounding whether they could have got up, whether they couldn't get up. Let me say, Duke, you know this, right, as a fighter, fighters are not, they're not bottlers, they're not quitters. That's the wrong terminology. You go, he had enough. He recognised he wasn't going to win. But whether he had the faculties about him, whether he could have got up or couldn't have got up, like you say, like, it was a heavy knockdown. And I just think he's there and he's thinking, I can't win this fight. So there was that.
But why
do other fighters say he quit then? Because again, me and Simon, who've never laced up, it's uncomfortable for us to say it, so I wouldn't. Why do fighters say it?
If they're using the wrong words. They're using the wrong words.
What word can we use?
No, so you can say that, look, he's had enough. He'd had enough at that point, yeah? But what I'm saying, no, so you say quit, that's fair enough, all right? So that's a valid point. You can go quit. You say he swallowed it, that's shit. Because fighters don't swallow it. They don't get to that level if they swallow things.
Is it a case of terminologies? And, because I said to you the other day, and I think you half agreed with me, which is he was more prepared to accept defeat than possibly I think he could and should have been.
Do you know what you do though, Simon? When you get hit and you get hurt, you're buzzed of a shot. In a split second, you have that conversation with your inner self. Shall I get up or shall I stay down?
That's my point.
Right? That's what happened with Daniel Dubois.
Okay, he by doing that then, Duke, you're saying that he had that conversation with himself and decided to stay down.
Yeah, well, he was hurt.
It's a different conversation.
It's a close cousin.
Okay, let me explain this as well. Whilst he's having this conversation, right, and you've got that split second to decide how you're going, you've got to remember, right, it was a heavy knockdown that as well. So your faculties are all over the place. So you're not thinking straight anyway.
I'm going to bring the non-fighter and just the boxing fan to the table. Because non-fighters, when we watch what happened with Dubois, we see a guy get up at 10 and walk back to the corner quite comfortably. So not like, so we're thinking, could he have got up at 8 then?
Yeah,
that's what we think.
Yeah, but different
fighters have different pain thresholds. And
there you go.
What I'm saying is he's on the floor, right? The ref's counting, you've got all this going on, all this around you, and you go, he's going, I've had enough. He's not swallowed it.
He's not swallowed it. He didn't swallow it.
They are very closely linked, those two. Those two
fine margins.
Very fine margins.
Yeah, absolutely. But just use the
right wording. Let me package it more neatly.
Yeah, because it sounds horrible when you say it.
Let me package it more neatly then, so that people don't become offended by the answer. Did Daniel give up?
I would say he recognised. I'd say he recognised he'd had enough.
So did he give up?
However you want to word that.
So yes or no? Did he give up?
However you want to word that. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm asking you. You're not ventriloquist.
I'm recognising that.
Got size for it, but not.
I'm not in his head though. What I'm saying is, but I'm looking at him, and as an ex-fighter, I'm going. Some fighters have just got that.
Yes
dog
or no,
in them.
Duke? Because
they pull him off. Hold on.
No, he didn't. He didn't give up. He didn't give up.
Yes or no? Have some balls about you. Say what you think. Live with the consequences.
Simon wants you to say.
Live with the consequences.
Say what you think.
I don't listen. I like Daniel Dubois.
I know you do.
want him to be successful.
I thought he knew he couldn't win.
So let's say yes then.
I thought he knew he couldn't win.
That's just my point.
He knew he couldn't win.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
We'll judge Daniel Dubois by what he does next.
We're both sacked.
Yeah. What can we do next?
I'm trying to close this section off on YouTube. We'll judge Daniel Dubois what he does next.